Okay, we're gonna put a build together. I have a 1040 Pelican case, and one of the first things this is what we're gonna learn. And we're gonna take the bladder out, and we'll use it later. Now, one of the things we're gonna want to do is figure out our layout. So I've already got a S600 here. I think I'm going to plop it in here. Now this is going to require us to grind where the S600 is. We'll do that later. Right now I'm just trying to figure out what kind of layout I want. Now I like the camera above the control board. Camera, this S600 is hard to find. They're expensive. So if it gets water in it, it's shot. It's going to cost me anywhere from $50 to $100 to replace that camera. So I'm going to keep my camera up high. Keep it that way. If the bottom fills up with water, it's not going to ruin my camera. So I think what I'm going to do is use a 2C holder. Now on this build, I'm going to use a SS2 control board. This is an SS2. Really nice setup. The battery should last a long time. On and off switch right there. We can adjust our PIR there, our sensitivity. So it's a really nice build. And the other part that makes this nice is the Fresnel. Now this is an HPWA Fresnel, but it has the bracket inside to mount the board to. So all I got to do is glue this in and screw the board to it. You can't get any simpler than that. Even make it even simpler is that it'll actually spin. And I can actually spin this board horizontal or vertically. So it's a really nice setup. That's what we're going to use. So right now this is how I want my setup. But I'm going to put the other part of that is I'm going to put a pipe through in there. And so we'll locate that here in a second. But we're just going to, I think I'm going to have the board about right there. That puts pretty close to my lens, as far as lining up with my camera lens. And then, like I said, I'm going to use a pipe through, so my pipe through will fit right like that. So I don't want to take my board higher than my battery holder because of my pipe through. I might use a smaller piece of pipe. I have one here somewhere. But I think I'll keep this battery holder, and I'll mount my board vertically. Now this board is nice because too it uses a bidirectional PIR, so that means I can mount this board this way or that way, horizontal or vertical, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to mount this board vertical right beside my holder, and that has been done pretty good. So with that all in, I mean, you can be a little more technical. You could probably do they do make I think Gary had put a template down where you can use a template, but I don't have to be perfect. It's got to be close to where I want to be. And I'm thinking right about there. So I marked that's where I'm going to drill a 1-inch hole. I'll be able to mount my PIR there. So we're going to put it right there. Okay. Now, like I said, I marked my hole and I drilled it. Now what I'm going to want to do here is clean up the edges, and I'm also going to need to take these ribs off here a little bit. I'm doing a 3D camera, so I don't care what my outside looks like, and I'm going to I'll put a liquid nail in. But if it's a camo case, then you're going to want to put your Fresnel on, mark your ribs, and grind your ribs over so that the Fresnel sits. Now I drilled my hole a little bit bigger so that I used a hole saw. My 1-inch won't quite do it, so I'm using a 1/16. It doesn't hurt. It's going to seal. Once it's where it wants to be, I'm fine. So I'm good that way. So what I'll do now is I'll grind those ribs off, and I'll be fine. Now I ground down those little ribs. What I want my circles. You'll see one row of circles in your Fresnel. And you'll see a second one. The second one faces down. So once I do that, Now what I want to do now is I'm going to want to goop everything together here, and we'll do that. But we want to take some Scotch-Brite, and I want to rough this out so that when I goop, my goop will hit or seal. So I want to rough this out so I take the shiny part of the case off. Helps my glue seal better. Now I want to do the same thing for the inside too, because I'm going to be gluing my battery holder down. So I want to go in here where I'm going to put my battery holder, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to rough that out, and I'm going to want to do the same thing to my battery holder too, so it sticks in there better. I'll take my battery holder and rough it up, and that's all I'm doing is scratching it up so that the goop will hold it better. And we want to use goop. We don't want to use silicone or anything else like that. You can buy goop at Walmart in the plumbing section. They used to carry it in other places. You can use automotive goop. You can use about any goop I know of you can use. They all seal well. Marine goop's the best. It's got UV protection on it, so the marine goop does work better. So I'm going to glue my battery holder in first. And the reason is I have my hole a little bit bigger. I can do that with an SS2 board. Make my battery hole a little bit bigger, and it ain't going to hurt nothing. You can't do that with the SS board because the holes are so close to the hole that has to be a 1-inch hole, or your holes won't. You won't have a hole in. Your holes for the mounting of the board won't work. But I used a little bit bigger hole, and I can, you have on the Fresnel, you have this gap, so I can go a little bit bigger, and I can move this around it to where it works for me. It just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to put that in there, and we're going to let it dry. Okay, I'm going to put the Fresnel in. And I took my Scotch-Brite and cleaned up around the Fresnel so it'll stick to the Fresnel better. And I'm just going to goop that around the Fresnel. Now that could be a little more messy. If you have a camera build, you're going to want to wipe this off better, but I'm not afraid to put goop on. I don't like things to leak. And I'm just going to put that right in there. Is that the way I want it? Put that on there, squish it down, let her set. And we'll wait for it to dry. We'll make sure it'll look good. You want to make sure you're straight too. So we're going to let that sit, let it dry, and we'll come back and mount the board in. Okay, now I'm going to need to grind my cakes because my camera is just a little bit wider. So I want to locate that. I don't want all the way to the top. I want a little bit of room for my lens. But I'm going to mark where I need a grind. So I know I need to grind to there, there, up here, and up here. Now, the trick to this is I don't want to grind this lip all the way off. So I want to grind off both sides so that I have a little bit of this lip left. Right in here. I mean, this lip. So I just want to, I don't want to grind all the way through that because it could cause you to leak. So I'm going to grind that now.